Chapter 16. The Contrast, the Destitution of the Lower Orders Against the Backdrop of Royal Luxury. The preceding chapters of this book have been devoted to the juridical illegitimacy of the European monarchies and to the economic vampirism they practice under the guise of tradition. We have demonstrated that these people have no right to their thrones. We have demonstrated that they cost the taxpayer billions. We have demonstrated that their wealth has been amassed through colonial plunder, the traffic in narcotics, and corrupt schemes. The time has now come for the most brutal, the most unendurable of contrasts. The contrast between those who draw their first breath with a golden crown upon their heads, and those who draw theirs with empty pockets, upon the filthy streets of the selfsame cities. Between palaces ablaze with gold and crystal, and the cardboard boxes in which the homeless huddle at the gates of those very palaces. Between children who will never know the meaning of hunger, and children who go to bed without their supper in a land where the royal family possesses billions. This chapter is more than a compilation of statistics. It is an emotional blow. It is a photograph that, once seen, cannot be unseen. It is a cry that must awaken those who still believe that monarchy is a harmless tradition and a part of our cultural heritage. No, monarchy is complicity in a crime against humanity, against those who freeze upon the streets while the king warms himself within his palace, against those who starve while the queen sends her half-eaten supper back to the kitchens, against those who cannot afford a roof over their heads while princes and princesses shuttle from one estate to another, choosing which of their 10 residences they find most agreeable. 16.1. The homeless at the gates of Buckingham Palace, a king in gold, his subjects in the dirt. London. Buckingham Palace. Golden gates, behind which stretch 775 chambers, 19 staterooms, 78 bathrooms, and a garden of 17 hectares, the largest private garden in London. Here dwells King Charles III. Here he receives the heads of state, holds banquets, cultivates rare species of flowers, and amasses his collection of works of art. Now step outside the gates. Walk 100 yards along the Mall. Turn down the Strand. Stroll along the embankment of the Thames. What does one behold? Underscore the homeless. Underscore people sleeping in cardboard boxes, wrapped in soiled sleeping bags, stretching out trembling hands for alms. People for whom Buckingham Palace is no symbol of national pride, but a mockery, a derision wrought of gold and marble, held up before their destitution. The figures do not lie. Over a mere 3 months, from July to September of 2025, social services workers recorded underscore 711 persons sleeping upon the streets of London underscore. Of these, underscore 116 found themselves upon the street for the first time in their lives underscore. Almost half of all the homeless of London are people who, not long before, had a roof over their heads, employment, a family. Now they sleep beneath bridges, in doorways, in parks, a stone's throw from the palace in which the king changes his wardrobe according to the season. And these are only those whom the authorities succeeded in counting. The true number of the homeless in London is far higher. According to the estimates of charitable organizations, no fewer than 6,000 to 7,000 souls pass each night upon the streets of the capital. And across the country, more than 300,000. Now let us look upon the other side. King Charles III is the master of underscore 7 palaces and 10 castles underscore 7 palaces, 10 castles. And this is to say nothing of the manors, the hunting lodges, the farms, and the commercial property managed by the duchies of Lancaster and Cornwall. At a time when thousands upon thousands of people have not a underscore single underscore square meter they may call their own, a single man possesses 17 residences, each containing hundreds of chambers. At a time when the homeless shiver in the rain, the king is at his leisure to decide in which of his palaces he shall pass the weekend, at Buckingham, at Windsor, at Holyrood, at Sandringham, at Balmoral, or, perchance, at Highgrove. This is not mere inequality. It is underscore criminal indifference underscore. A system in which one person is born with a right to 17 roofs over his head, while thousands are born with a right to none. A system in which the crown holds assets worth £15 billion, yet cannot find a few millions to build shelters for all the homeless of London. The Duchy of Lancaster, the personal property of the king, yielded an annual profit of £24.4 million. The Duchy of Cornwall, the property of Prince William, yielded £22.9 million. Add these two sums together, underscore pound 47.3 million underscore. This would suffice to erect underscore 1,000 units of social housing underscore, and to resolve the problem of homelessness for thousands of souls, once and for all. Instead, the money flows to the upkeep of the royal court, to the renovation of Buckingham Palace, at a cost of £369 million, to private aeroplanes, to the maintenance of yachts, to the salaries of 500 courtiers. And still the people sleep upon the streets, at the gates of the palace, a few paces from the king, who could resolve their plight with a single stroke of his pen, yet does not, because it is a matter of indifference to him. 16.2. Child poverty in Spain. The king upon the ski slopes, children without bread. Spain, a country where the monarchy was restored by the dictator Franco, and where King Juan Carlos stuffed his Swiss accounts with hundreds of millions of euros while his subjects languished under unemployment and economic crisis. According to the official data, more than 2.6 million children in Spain live below the poverty line. This is every third child in the land. Every third Spanish child is undernourished, lacks access to a decent education, dwells in straitened conditions, and cannot afford a new pair of shoes or a warm coat. Now let us look upon the royal family. King Felipe VI draws from the public purse €277,000 per annum, and this is only his official stipend. Queen Letizia, €152,000. Queen Sofia, the consort of the abdicated corrupter Juan Carlos, €124,000. The total budget of the royal household amounts to €8.4 million a year, to which must be added a reserve fund, together with the concealed costs of security, palaces, and travel. In 2012, at the very height of a savage economic crisis, when millions of Spaniards were losing their employment and their homes, Juan Carlos, at that time still the king, set off for Botswana to hunt elephants. The cost of this safari was reckoned in the tens of thousands of euros, a sum that would have sufficed to feed 100 Spanish children for a 12-month. The expedition was arranged by his mistress, Carina Larsen, the self-same woman to whom he later made a gift of €65 million from the Saudi commissions. While the king was shooting elephants, Spanish mothers stood in queues for free meals for their children. While Queen Sofia was trying on new couture gowns, Spanish pensioners rummaged through dustbins in search of food that had passed its sell-by date. While the infantas were being educated at the most exclusive private schools, hundreds of thousands of Spanish children could not afford even their school books. The situation today has somewhat improved. The economy of Spain is in recovery. Yet every third child still dwells in poverty, and the royal family still draws its millions. Because such is the tradition. Because the monarchy is the symbol of national unity. The unity of what, precisely? The unity of the sated and the starving? The unity of those who hunt elephants in Africa and those who rummage through the dustbins of Madrid? This is no unity. It is apartheid. Only the division is drawn, not by the color of the skin, but by the accident of birth. 16.3. The housing crisis in the Netherlands. The king enlarges his palaces, while the young live with their parents until the age of 35. The Netherlands, a country that prides itself upon its welfare state and its bicycle monarchy. A country in which King Willem-Alexander receives €1.2 million a year in personal maintenance, and Queen Maxima a further €500,000. Where 240 footmen, valets, cooks, and gardeners attend upon the royal family at a cost of €22.7 million annually. Now let us look at the reality of the ordinary Dutchman. The Netherlands is in the grip of a housing crisis of the most acute kind. Hundreds of thousands of young people cannot afford to rent even the tiniest of flats, let alone to purchase a home of their own. They dwell for years with their parents, setting aside money that will never prove sufficient. They stand in queues for social housing that stretch out for 10 to 15 years. The deficit of housing in the Netherlands is reckoned in the hundreds of thousands of units. The construction of new housing proceeds at a crawl, the bureaucratic obstacles are immense, and the cost of rent has soared into the stratosphere. In Amsterdam, the average rent for a one-room flat exceeds €1,500 a month, a sum utterly beyond the reach of a young professional on a starting salary. The political parties propose a variety of solutions. Some wish to build more social housing, others to reduce the tax burden upon investors, still others to impose rent controls. Yet all are agreed upon one point. The crisis is so profound that its resolution will demand billions of euros and decades of deliberate policy. The Socialist Party has proposed the construction of 1 million affordable rental units, an ambitious plan that, in the estimation of the experts, will come into collision with enormous financial and bureaucratic impediments. And now let us observe what the royal family is doing in this predicament. It is enlarging its palaces. It is renewing the interiors. It is ordering new furnishings. It has taken on several additional gardeners to tend the royal flower beds. King Willem Alexander dwells in the Palace of Huis ten Bosch at The Hague, an immense edifice of hundreds of chambers, surrounded by a park that is closed to the public. His mother, the former Queen Beatrix, occupies the Palace of Langvoorhout. His brother, Prince Constantine, has his own residence. His aunts, Princesses Irene and Margaret, dwell in palaces maintained at the public charge. How much social housing could be erected if the royal family were to vacate even a portion of its residences? How many young families would obtain a roof over their heads if the palaces were converted into blocks of flats or into hostels? Yet no, the royal palaces are the heritage of the nation. They cannot be defiled by the presence of common mortals. Let the young live with their parents until they are 5 and 30. Let them scrape together the deposit for a mortgage that will never come. Let them be crammed into minuscule studio flats at a monstrous price. The king must dwell in a palace. It is the tradition. And tradition, as all the world knows, is a thing more sacred than a roof over the heads of hundreds of thousands of citizens. 16.4. A day in the life of a king versus a day in the life of an out-of-work man, an infographic of inequality. Let us now conjure before the mind's eye two parallel days. A single day in the life of a king, and a single day in the life of a man without employment. Two universes subsisting within a single country, a single city, at a remove of a few hundred yards from one another. The king awakens in his bedchamber at Buckingham Palace. The chamber measures some 50 square meters. Its windows look out upon the garden, where the gardeners are already at their labors, trimming the lawns and watering the flowers. A footman brings in his breakfast, freshly squeezed juice, eggs laid by the hens upon the royal estate, toast spread with jam from the royal glasshouses, coffee brewed according to a special receipt. The king glances through the newspapers that were delivered to him before the sun was up. The out-of-work man awakens in his sleeping bag, beneath a bridge over the Thames. It rained in the night. The bag is soaked through. He shivers with the cold. There is no breakfast. He gathers his meager belongings and makes his way to a charitable soup kitchen, in the hope of obtaining a bowl of hot broth. The queue already stretches back around the corner. He takes his place at the end and waits. An hour passes. 2. The king passes the morning in an audience with the prime minister. They discuss the affairs of state. Thereafter, a meeting with the ambassador of a foreign power. An exchange of courtesies, photographs for the press. Next, a luncheon with members of the Privy Council. 5 courses. Wines drawn from the royal cellars. The out-of-work man passes the morning in a queue at the job center. He must register his attendance or lose his benefits. The benefit amounts to £85 a week, £12 a day. Out of this, he must buy food, clothing, and the requisites of hygiene. Of paying rent, there can be no question. Even the cheapest room in London costs £100 a week. The king, after his luncheon, sets out for a stroll in Windsor Great Park. He seats himself in his armored limousine, and a convoy of 5 motor cars conveys him out of the city. In the park, he walks along the avenues, drinks in the fresh air, and perchance confers with the keepers, who make their report upon the state of the deer herd. The out-of-work man, after his midday, goes to the public library. It is warm there and dry. He sits down in a corner, takes out a dog-eared book, and reads, to while away the hours until evening. The librarian casts a suspicious eye upon him. The homeless are not welcome here. They put off the respectable visitors. At 5 o'clock, the library closes. The man steps out once more into the street. The king, of an evening, attends a charitable gala concert. He delivers an address upon the importance of succoring the poor and the disadvantaged. The hall bursts into applause. The guests drink champagne and eat canapes spread with black caviar. A single ticket for this evening's entertainment costs £5,000. The total raised is £2 million. A part of this sum will go to philanthropy. A part will go to the administrative costs. The king returns to the palace about midnight, well pleased with the work he has done. The out-of-work man, of an evening, searches for a place to pass the night. His accustomed spot beneath the bridge is already taken. A little company of the homeless has settled itself there. He walks on, toward the railway station. There, in the underpass, there is a recess where it is sometimes possible to sleep. Tonight it is free. He spreads out his sodden sleeping bag, curls himself into a ball, and tries to fall asleep. Tomorrow will be another day, the same as today, the same as yesterday, the same as all the days that have gone before. This is no invention. This is no overcoloring. This is the underscore reality of modern Europe underscore. A reality in which kings dwell in palaces, whilst thousands of their subjects sleep upon the pavements. A reality in which princes and princesses wallow in luxury, whilst children rummage through the rubbish. A reality in which the word tradition serves as the justification for the most monstrous inequality in the history of mankind. 16.5. The arithmetic of brigandage, where your wages truly go. Up to this point, we have spoken of palaces and yachts in the millions and billions. For an ordinary man, who has never set eyes upon a billion, such figures are an abstraction. Let us now render them into a language that is within the grasp of every person who labors for a wage and looks at the figure marked net pay upon his remittance slip. This is underscore the arithmetic of royal brigandage underscore. According to the data for the year 2026, the top rates of income tax in the European monarchies have attained veritably confiscatory magnitudes. Underscore Denmark heads this roll of shame with a maximal rate of 60.5% underscore, which signifies that, for every euro earned above a certain threshold, the state seizes more than 60 cents. Underscore in Belgium, the rate is 50%. In Spain, 47% underscore, and in certain autonomous communities, higher still. Underscore in Sweden, above 50%. In the Netherlands, 49.5% underscore. These are not taxes. They are confiscation. And now, attend closely. Whither do these astronomical sums, wrenched from the purses of ordinary citizens, make their way? A portion, to be sure, finances the public health, the schools, and the infrastructure. Yet another portion, and it swells with every passing year, disappears into that underscore black hole named the monarchy underscore. As we have already established in Chapter 14, the aggregate direct and concealed expenditures upon the 7 European monarchies amount to underscore no fewer than 1 billion euros per annum underscore. This money is drawn from the selfsame budgets that are stuffed full by the pitiless taxation of labor. What results is a collusive circle, perfect in its cynicism. 1. The Danish, Belgian, or Dutch laborer surrenders underscore more than half underscore of his earnings to the state. 2. The state, instead of lightening that burden, finances a underscore royal court underscore that underscore pays no taxes underscore and possesses fortunes in the billions. 3. At the selfsame time, the king, as in the case of the British monarch and the Duchy of Lancaster, draws underscore millions underscore from the leasing of lands to those very state institutions and pays not a farthing upon the proceeds. Behold the arithmetic of brigandage. While the governments of Europe justify their rapacious taxes by invoking the necessity of the welfare state and the common weal, a substantial portion of these funds flows away to the maintenance of an institution that has no right, either juridical or moral, to exist. While the laborer racks his brains to make his wages last until the end of the month, His Majesty is refurbishing the wardrobe chambers of his palace. This is no mere injustice. It is underscore institutionalized theft underscore, hallowed by statute and by tradition, and purchased with the sweat and blood of ordinary men and women. 16.6. Conclusion. To keep silence is to be an accomplice. This chapter is a painful thing to read. It has been a still more painful thing to write. Yet it was needful that it be written. For the figures of the budgets, the billions of euros, the schemes of corruption, all these may remain mere abstractions. But the face of a homeless man, sleeping at the gates of Buckingham Palace, that is a thing impossible to ignore. The face of a child who has not eaten for 2 days, whilst the royal family banquets, that is a thing that must pursue every person who pays his taxes in a country that maintains a monarchy. Monarchy is no harmless tradition. It is a underscore system of inequality enshrined in law underscore. A system in which some are born with a right to everything, and others with a right to nothing. A system in which the wealth accumulated across centuries of plunder and exploitation is transmitted by inheritance, untouched by the tax gatherer, whilst poverty is transmitted by inheritance, without the faintest chance of escape. Each time you behold a photograph of the royal family, smiling from the balcony of Buckingham Palace, bring to mind those who sleep upon the pavement a stone's throw from that very balcony. Each time you hear of a royal wedding that cost its millions, bring to mind the children who go to their beds unfed. Each time you are told that the monarchy is a part of our identity, ask, Underscore whose underscore identity? The identity of those who live in palaces, or of those who perish under the fences. The answer is plain to see. Monarchy is no identity. It is a underscore crime underscore. A crime against humanity. A crime against justice. A crime against the generations yet to come. And to keep silence in the face of this crime is to be an accomplice.